Francesco Bagnaia told Ducati to copy Gresini, not learn from them, not analyse them, copy them. A two-time world champion on the factory bike after a race his team could not finish, pointing at the satellite team and saying, "That is what we need to become." If that sentence does not feel wrong to you, you are not paying attention, because Gresini is the team Ducati spent 2026 trying to control, sideline, and nearly destroy from the inside. So how does a manufacturer lose the answers on their own motorcycle to the team they treated as a liability all year? And why did it take a public humiliation before anyone at Borgo Panigale was willing to admit it out loud? You already know what Ducati did to Gresini this year. The Aldeguer move without warning or consultation. Padovani blindsided and publicly upset. The Honda conversations that got serious enough that a full factory deal was being drawn up with 6 bikes and financial backing Gresini had never once received from Ducati. The Ducati executive who described managing VR46 and Gresini as constantly having to mediate between 2 children who are always fighting. All of that was the build-up. Jerez was the answer, and the answer was so clean, so direct, and so damaging for Ducati that it almost does not seem real. Here is the part that should genuinely disturb people inside Borgo Panigale. Coming into this weekend, Alex Marquez had said publicly he was still missing maybe 20% on the GP26. Some races, he admitted, felt like pure survival. 3 rounds in, he had 28 points and a best finish of 6th, sitting 8th in the championship on the same factory-spec machinery as Marc Marquez and Bagnaia. The team could not unlock what was inside it. And then Sunday happened. Marc Marquez crashed out of 2nd place on lap 2. Bagnaia lasted until lap 13 before a technical issue ended his race, running 9th and going nowhere near the points that mattered. Both factory riders gone. 0 Sunday points. 9 races now without a podium for the Ducati Lenovo team, their longest drought since 2014, a stat that would have seemed impossible 12 months ago. And while the factory garage had nothing, Gresini won. On the same bike, with the same data available, with the same machinery that Bologna had been unable to figure out across 4 race weekends. That gap is not a racing incident. That gap is a structural failure. And it played out in front of every team, every manufacturer, and every journalist on the biggest home race of the European season. But none of that is the real story. The real story is what Bagnaia said afterwards. And I want you to actually stop and hear this, because it is easy to let it pass like a routine post-race quote and miss exactly how extraordinary it is. Speaking to TNT Sports after the Grand Prix, Bagnaia said, "Alex and the Gresini team did an amazing job. They worked much better, and they improved a lot. He was struggling a lot with the GP26, and this Jerez weekend they improved a lot. So, we just need to study them and maybe copy them." And then, asked about the focus for Monday's test, he said, "Understand some new solutions that Ducati brings, and try to copy Alex to improve." Read that again. Slowly. The factory rider is not saying Gresini got lucky. He is not saying the conditions happened to suit them, or that it was a one-off that will correct itself. He is saying Gresini understood this motorcycle better than Ducati did. He is saying the satellite team, the team Ducati nearly lost to Honda, the team Ducati moved a rider away from without even the courtesy of a warning. That team has the answers his factory does not have. And he is saying it publicly, on camera, after a race where both factory riders failed to score a single Sunday point. I don't think people have fully absorbed what that means, because that is an indictment of the factory. Bagnaia is not praising Padovani's team. He is telling Borgo Panigale they got outworked by the team they spent a year trying to manage. That is not a compliment. That is a confession. And the context around that confession makes it far more damaging than the words alone. But the confession lands completely differently when you know what sits behind it. This is the team Ducati treated as replaceable. The team whose trust Padovani said was broken. The team that got so close to leaving that Honda was drawing up a full factory partnership. And Ducati's own sporting director flew to Brazil and could only say, I cannot make comments. I will speak after Austin. That is not control. That is a manufacturer in damage limitation mode, trying to hold together a relationship it had already fractured through its own decisions. And the team that forced Ducati into that position just handed the factory a technical masterclass on their own bike. Let's not forget that detail. Ducati did not solve Gresini's problem with the GP26. Gresini went away, did the work, and solved it themselves. And now the factory is publicly asking to learn from how they did it. People framed this story all year as a leverage war. Gresini pushing back, Honda as a negotiating weapon, Padovani fighting for better terms inside a structure designed to keep satellite teams dependent and replaceable. And all of that was real and well documented. But what Jerez revealed is something sitting underneath the politics that is far more uncomfortable for Ducati than any contract dispute. This was never only about leverage. It was about competence. The team Ducati managed as a political problem was doing better technical work than the factory. That is the line that changes everything. Because you can manage a leverage problem. You can buy it off, restructure around it, wait it out until the market shifts in your favour. You cannot manage your way out of a satellite team that understands your own motorcycle better than you do. That problem does not get solved in a contract renegotiation. It gets solved when you fix the quality of the work. And right now, Gresini is the one showing Ducati what that work looks like. Make no mistake, Ducati still controls the structure. They still decide who gets what machinery, who moves where, how the entire ecosystem is organised. None of that changed at Jerez. But control of a structure and control of the narrative are two entirely different things. And Ducati just lost the narrative in the most public way possible. The story they could tell, factory leads, satellite follows, hierarchy is clear and maintained. That story ended the moment Bagnaia stood in front of a camera and said, "Copy them." Nadia Padovani rebuilt this team after losing her husband, without factory support, without institutional protection, without any of the structural guarantees that teams like VR46 were handed from the very beginning. She built it into the team that just won the race Ducati could not finish, inside the very structure that spent a year trying to push her into a corner. That is not a negotiating outcome. That is a verdict, and it is one Ducati built for themselves. Does Ducati treat what happened at Jerez as a genuine wake-up call, or does the factory file it away as one result and leave the structure exactly as it was? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.